Welcome back to Dodger Stadium. It's the bottom of the seventh with one out and Rowan Garner on first. Rowan Garner leading off, going nanny, nanny, nanny.
Nanny, 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 you can't get me.
Gregoron checks him back at first. Rowan Garner now telling the pitcher he's got a fat ass.
Pitcher's got a big butt. Pitcher's got a big butt. Pitcher's got a big butt.
Ball one. Welcome to another episode of Good Times and Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Tim Big Poppy Morrison. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Paul. How are you?
Oh, I'm feeling good, Tim. I'm feeling good because we are going to have a blast tonight. We're talking about a really fun movie. We're talking about 1993's Rookie of the Year. And the reason we're talking about Rookie of the Year today is because we had someone write us and say that we should do this movie. And we sort of got together and we thought, why don't they come on and hang out and talk about this movie with us? So today we're actually bringing on a longtime friend of the show. This is Richard Donovan. Richard, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it, man. This is a good idea. Thank you for suggesting this. This is like such a fun movie.
This is one of my all-time favorite.
Yeah, I consider this a little bit of gift, early spring gift.
This is great. Yeah, this is spring training, baby. Here we go.
It's just in time for the start of the season.
So maybe we'll give you a quick synopsis here in case you've never seen Rookie of the Year. It's about an accident that miraculously gives a boy an incredibly powerful throwing arm, and he becomes a major league pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. So we should actually discuss this really quick then. Why don't you tell everybody why you wanted us to talk about this movie in the first place?
Rookie of the Year is like this awesome, from my childhood. I've watched it, hundreds of times when I was a kid. And what was funny then is like a different funny now. I find now that I'm an adult, I find the movie funny in different ways. But there's a lot of really, really funny humor in it. When you like look past the Disney, like the Disney side of things in the movie, which makes it like a bad movie, but at the same time a good movie. It's just a classic. It's a hilarious story, and there's really funny people in it, and yeah.
100%. Honestly, Daniel Stern is like brick. So Daniel Stern in this movie, for people who don't know, he directed this movie first of all, which is incredible to me. I didn't know that till 3 days ago. I've seen this movie 100 times. Didn't know that. It's insane. Apparently, he like wrote this character for himself. He just kind of snuck himself in the movie. So, genius, I think. But this is like really quotable, this movie.
For anyone who doesn't know, Daniel Stern is Marv from the Home Alone movies. Not Joe Pesci, the tall, lanky fella.
That's right. There's sort of like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with this movie because he's in this movie, but also we're going to find out later, like the owner of Duncan's Toy Chest is in this movie too.
Every time he walked into a scene, I couldn't get the Home Alone Christmas music out of my head. Like it completely took me out of this movie every single time I saw him.
I just love the difference between his character in Home Alone and his character in this movie. It's really quite funny.
It is, yeah, because in Home Alone, he's like this really jolly, happy guy. And he's, oh, here's some turtle doves, Kevin. I'm going to take this money down to the children's hospital. But in this movie, he's just like senile and just doesn't care about what's going on in the field. He's got Cracker Jacks and whatever hot dogs going on. So this is, there's so many, yeah, there's just so many, like, I understand why you like this movie because I think it's so quotable and there's so many just different characters in this movie that are you're just instantly attracted to each of these people because there's always something going on in every scene. That's just hilarious.
So today, this is the first time I've ever seen the movie, watching it today.
You're in for a treat.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I didn't watch this when I was young. With that said, I was never really into sports movies. I kind of feel like that's a genre that's like in the same category as like movies based on video games. It's just very rare that there's like actually a good one. And I don't watch baseball at all either, so.
Okay, come on. Hold on a second, Tim. Wait a second. There's no good sports movies?
Oh, Angels in the Outfield action?
Yeah, Angels in the Outfield. Okay. Field of Dreams is a pretty good movie. Moneyball is a pretty good movie. Friday Night Lights is awesome. Sandlot is awesome. Also, like not the Mighty Ducks 3, but Mighty Ducks 1 and 2 is like, it's hard. That's hard. And Little Giants. Have you seen Little Giants?
Oh,
Isn't that
right.
movie amazing?
Yeah.
Right? And the kid, they have they have the seltzer tablets and they fake like they've got rabies or whatever. It's amazing. Ed O'Neill's in it, I'm pretty sure. This is a great movie. So
Yeah, I stand corrected. I suppose you just rifled off a lot of decent ones.
sorry, I just mean like if you're not into sports or whatever, that's it's totally reasonable too. But I mean wrestling is sports too, and there's wrestling movies out there too, but some of them not so good. We're gonna talk about later, but
I'm gonna have a lot of questions about this because I generally don't watch baseball at all. I understand the basic concept of how the game works, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie that I have to ask you guys if this actually happens in any games.
Well, I'll let you know this to start. Usually there's no 12-year-olds in the game.
it's good to have Richard here because Richard is the resident baseball expert here. So he is going to be able to fill us in and just, like Richard's the guy to go to for baseball. So this is going to be fun. So I don't know about you guys, but maybe we should just get into this thing and just start talking about Rookie of the Year.
So this movie starts off with a bunch of clips from Wrigley Field. I guess it's like the home field where the Cubs play. Yeah. So instead of your traditional like 20th Century Fox music, like dun, 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 we actually get like this baseball version. I guess that's like supposed to sound like you're going to a ball game. It's just a bunch of snares and shit, and it's just a bunch of clips of baseball, an empty baseball arena with baseball players practicing and stuff, and we get the opening credits of who's acting in the movie. And I was really pumped when I saw Gary Busey's name because I had no idea he was in this movie, and Gary Busey is just a blast to watch no matter what he's doing. One of the things that I noticed right away, like we have a lot of the commentators and stuff, people in this like affiliated with the Cubs. One of them is the head announcer, I guess. He is John Candy. He's played by John Candy. Yeah. He is just running this team down, like the Cubs. And like just about for like the first like 5 minutes, it feels like it's just an absolute like trash the Cubs. This team hasn't won in forever. And I did a little bit of homework, and I guess at this time it had been close to 100 years since they'd actually won a World Series. So I guess that's kind of true, but like I would think that they obviously the Cubs or some people in the Cubs like owners were affiliated with the making of this movie, right?
They would have to be. Yeah, no, you're surprised that they talked down on them so much at the start of it?
Yeah, I'm surprised that they absolutely just ran them down to the ground. I would think that they wanted to make the team look a little bit better than that. Like, is this going to sell tickets?
I think it was like a real thing. Like this epitomizes the Chicago Cubs fan base in the 90s, like, and what they went through over the last 90 years. Like, it is really like, it's like a love letter to the fans, is like the movie. It honestly is.
During all of that, it kind of just cuts to a game and someone's hitting the ball with the bat. You can tell I don't watch baseball. And as someone's going to catch the ball, one of the players, it's a quick cut to an alleyway where a young kid catches the ball. And we meet our main character here. His name is Henry. If anybody knows what the correct pronunciation of his last name is, feel free to jump in.
Rowan Gardner.
Hand, row, guard, no. The entire season is resting on his shoulders.
So while he catches the ball, and then they're like, we got to get out of here. And they grab this baby carriage that I'm assuming is theirs. And they run down the street with it like they're in a hurry for something, and maybe to get to a game or something. I don't know. But did I miss something? What's the deal with this baby carriage?
I think it's a way to get around town fast. Everyone gets out of the way for.
It's a good question. I've watched this movie like 100 times, and it's only just the last like couple days when I watched this, and I was like, why are they pushing around a baby carriage? It doesn't. They've got gloves and like bats and balls and stuff in there, so it's kind of like their little baseball caddy, maybe. But where did you get this from?
You know what they have in there? They have they're I don't know, they're working on a boat and they have an engine in it.
Well, they are later, but at the start here, they go to the baseball game, right? Because he goes, it's either me or Windermere. And then we cut to the field, and there's this asthmatic, nerdy kid in like center field, and he is just having an asthma attack. And the coach is just like, what does he say, Richard? You do that. You do this good. Like, this is your
Yeah.
movie, so please.
Windermere. And then he cuts him in. He's like, and he brings him in, puts Ron Gardner in, and he brings him in. He's like, I don't want to hear about no asthma either.
Yeah, and he's calling these kids imbeciles and morons. And these are like 12-year-olds.
Yeah, he's like, Windermere, you moron.
Yeah, he is not the coach you want.
No, it's a terrible coach. Wait, have you ever had a coach like this, Richard?
No, never ever had a coach like that. I'm glad about that.
If I had a child and if my kid was being yelled at by like an old man like that, I would probably lose my mind.
I remember once in Little League baseball, I tried to steal home. I got cocky and I tried to steal home, and the coach waved me off, and I got caught out, and then he yelled at me and called me an idiot. And my dad yelled at him, but I felt really bad. I was like, yeah, all right, that was a stupid play. Fair enough.
So this scene kind of like where he, Henry finally, it's obvious that Henry's not very good at baseball, so he finally gets his shot to get in the ball game, and it's kind of funny how it sets him up as an awful baseball player, and then gets to, I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah, right now Henry is a terrible baseball player because there's a pop fly out to center field, and what happens here? He trips and falls, and his hat falls over his head. Instead of taking the time to like fix the hat and then throw the ball, to home, he just spins around blindly like it's pin the tail on the donkey and just rockets it the other way over the fence. And his buddy George was like, is that play even legal?
Yeah. Nobody on the team really likes Henry to begin with.
We fast forward to later on in the evening, and Henry's mother is making supper. Her name is Mary, by the way. Mary is making supper and getting herself all dolled up because she is really excited to go out for the night. And apparently she's been going out quite a bit lately because Henry is very disappointed to see that she is going out with her new boyfriend, Jack. And it is their 3-week anniversary. So, of course, he buys her a diamond necklace. That's an incredibly creepy red flag that everybody should watch out for.
Jack Bradford. Henry knows that he's on to the fact that he's a skeezy guy. And Henry gets to watch this weird, awkward kiss in the middle of his kitchen.
And the guy kind of looks like a combination of like George Costanza and Ray Romano. He's such a loser. And this guy drives a little Miata, and I mean, they set him up to be just a complete wiener in this movie. This next day, we cut back to the school where Henry, George, and Clark are sitting in the cafeteria at lunchtime. And they're all kind of talking about this girl in school that Henry has a crush on. What's her name again?
Becky. Milk's done that body good.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on a second. We need to talk about that. Wasn't that as a man in my 30s now, watching this movie, this one kid drops a line about this little 8-year-old, 10-year-old girl named Becky and says, milk's done the body good. I don't know. I cringed a little bit. I was like, I just can't look at the screen right now.
I was going to ask you if you've seen any other movies where there's young kids sexualizing each other in like such a blatant way. With exception to like a movie like the early '90s movie Kids, but that's supposed to be like a raw look at like city kids, right? But like just like your suburban neighborhood kids from a Disney movie. That's a pretty funny thing to say. Disney's they're weird like that. They do always make weird references. Like and I was waiting for it in this movie too, that every movie there's a very odd dick joke.
You know what's just weird though is like an adult wrote that line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, this is gonna be a good line for this kid to say to this other kid about a 10-year-old.
Not to mention she's like, not that hot, she's stacked. And he goes like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Holy crap.
going back to what you just said about like someone actually wrote that line, you would think that if you were to actually write that down anywhere in a place where you work, where other people can see, it would be taken down by HR well before it made it to an actual movie on screen in theaters and stuff, right?
We are talking about the movie business, though, I guess, right? So it's not.
There's a good chance Harvey Weinstein was involved in this somehow.
So now we're going to the park, and I guess this is like after school or something. And
it's recess.
Okay, it's recess. Henry is getting picked on by the other, by everyone that he played baseball with yesterday, the day prior. And they're basically just saying, hey, good game, pal. And one of them biffs a baseball, and it's like in super slow motion. The way this scene actually played out on screen was weird because it showed close-ups of Becky's face and the ball just flying through the air in slow motion. To me, I thought that he biffed the ball at this girl and it was about to hit her in the face. And Henry sprint into action to try and catch it.
But in actuality, it was him hitting the ball to see if Henry could catch it. And then everyone looking on, hoping that he can. And once he realized that everybody was watching, he said, fuck it, and went for it. And he's just like full sprint down the grass in slow-mo trying to catch it, and lo and behold, there's just a baseball sitting on the ground that he slips on.
Just a random baseball sitting there.
Yeah, flies up in the air and lands. My favorite part of the scene is George's face as it happens.
So it fades to dark from there, and then immediately we're in the doctor's office, and he has the most ridiculous cast I've ever seen on somebody. Okay, so just to describe this, one, I'm pretty sure that, okay, so his arm's broken, and I think he has some damage in his shoulder. How this cast is in any way supposed to heal his shoulder is like beyond me, because I think this would probably damage a healthy shoulder. His hand and arm is stuck in an upright position. He looks like he's perpetually signaling that he's going to turn left on his bicycle.
I wonder if grown-ups saw this and was like, what if we just complete the thought and we do the other arm? You know, because that's like the half Steve Buscemi cast. Because his arms are stuck up in a Y as well, too. Remember, they're like, hey, is a kick good? You know, like, can you get something off the top shelf for me? Like, that was such an amazing scene. that was an amazing scene in that movie.
So this really surprised me. Like, I knew going into the movie that he hurt his arm. I knew the premise of this movie. I thought he was going to get hit by a car or something. He rolled his ankle.
He tripped on a baseball and fell hard on his shoulder.
Of all the creative ideas you could have to hurt yourself or have an injury in the movies about baseball, they chose for him to roll his foot on a baseball. Of all the things, like he could have got hit with a ball, or I feel like there's a lot of creative avenues that they just didn't bother to go down.
Or like another kid was running out and then he hit the kid and then flipped over and landed on his arm or something. It's just like, why is there a baseball sitting in the grass? Just no one's around it. It's just hanging out there.
It's also crazy how high Henry flew in the air when he tripped on the baseball. It's like he got hit by an 18-wheeler. He's literally 12 feet in the air.
It would have been hilarious if he would have injured himself just by running into a wall.
They like Home Aloned him.
Yeah.
Go back.
Yeah, that's what should have happened. Should have been like Kevin McAllister's friend, and then Kevin set him on fire or like cut him when he was halfway across the zip line or something.
Marv already did that. He couldn't do that. He couldn't steal that for his own movie.
Yeah, you're right.
It's inspired by.
Yeah, he just makes a baseball Home Alone. He's like, this is a different thing.
Finds a way to like swing a paint can at a center field or something. I don't know. Henry's out for a couple months here with this cast on, and we sort of get a quick little montage of how annoying it is for him and him going to the doctor and getting checked out. So we fast forward now, and today is the day that Henry is going to get his cast off.
It's cast off day.
It's cast off. That's right. Cast off. Percocet. Molly Percocet.
So Henry, his mom, and for whatever reason, all of his friends are here in the doctor's office with him. And and the doctor is testing out his reflexes and seeing how well his arm is healed. And he's getting him to, move your arm to the left, move your arm to the right, lift it up, lift it down. And at one point he wants to get him to kind of rotate his arm back and forward, the same motion that you would make if you're going to throw an overhand ball. And as he does it, his arm just kind of like whips forward, and he hits the doctor in the face and gives him a nosebleed. And here's the doctor's reaction.
Funky butt loving. Did he say funky butt loving?
Man, when he first started saying it, I was like, holy crap. At first I was like, I thought he said the whole,
In a Disney movie?
yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, funky butt loving? What the hell is that?
It's weird. Like, why would someone write that, and why would they they put that in there? They're like, they must have, right, at some point. Maybe he made it up on the spot. I don't know. There's no in-depth commentary on this movie, so you really know. But I gotta imagine someone wrote that, and you just write funky. He says funky butt loving. Like, it could have been anything other than funky butt loving.
It almost sounds like an inside joke to me.
Or like something that came from an actual true life event. So the doctor talks about how some kind of weird business happened with his shoulder, and one thing fused to another thing that makes his arm able to just throw. Like, usually when you throw real hard, you do a big old run to crow hop, and soon you'll see how Henry can just literally twist his rotator cuff down, and the ball goes 150 miles an hour. just with a move of the rotator cuff. It's incredible.
It makes this weird, like, rubber kind of creaky noise when it goes up, and like it's just loading up, and it goes pew, and he just throws heat.
Yeah, it's like a catapult. You can tell that there's some twisted shit going on. Whoever the doctor was that set him up with that cast needs to be like, seriously, where did he get his
It probably went to Dr. Nick Riviera. Hi, everybody. Let me put your cast on.
The whole cast went around his midsection and stuff too. Like, it was this super cast. It took half his body. It was unbelievable.
There's like an iron rod in it. At one point, they had like brought in like a welder or something. They're like, here, just put this mask on, kid. Watch, don't look in the directly at it. So it looks like Henry's mom has given him a little bit of a celebration present now that he's got his cast off. She's given him 3 tickets to the Cubs game. So him and his 2 buddies, they're going down there, and they are sitting, looks like center field somewhere, and they're about to watch the Cubs play. And guess who's on the mound, guys? None other than the Rocket himself, Chet Steadman.
Yeah, Gary Busey.
Yeah, Gary Busey as Chet Steadman. I think he's portrayed as like this elite player who used to be elite player, and now he's kind of coming towards the end of his career. He's had some injury issues, but Henry and Clark and George, definitely their favorite player.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that his arm has been injured for approximately 7 months. So I think that's just a testament to how weak this team is, that they're having a pitcher with a injured arm still he's their lead pitcher. Isn't that kind of ridiculous, or is that like common in baseball?
Maybe it's just to play devil's advocate here. Maybe it's more of a metaphorical thing. It's a metaphorical reference to the fact that, one storied franchise is now waning and not doing so hot, right? Used to be something, now they're nothing.
So Gary Busey's character in this is actually really serious. I didn't know that he was actually capable of acting this serious or portraying himself this serious. He's not wacky at all in this movie.
I know. I completely agree, Tim. He's like your dad. It's weird. Like, he's a normal guy.
I wonder if this was before his motorcycle accident.
I have 2 questions here now, actually. When was Under Siege filmed? Was this around Under Siege time? Like, presumably, was Gary Busey dressing up in fake boobs and a dress like 3 months before he filmed Rookie of the Year? Was that what's going on here? Or was this after it? I need answers, damn it.
3. They were filmed at the same time. He was being Chet Steadman, and he was
Chet Steadman by day and crazy Gary Busey by night, who's on a boat with a cook. So the Rocket is up on the mound there, and then he is struggling, it looks like. And obviously the Cubs are too. And he throws one in, and it gets cranked out into left field, and it's a home run. And it falls by Henry and the boys, bounces up, and one of the Cubs fans grabs it. One of these big, huge, big fat dudes just out there in center field drinking way too much beer and way too many hot dogs. Tries to throw this ball, just whiffs it, throws it like 6 feet, doesn't even go over into the actual infield. And everyone starts booing him, making fun of him. Then, of course, the Rocket, still struggling again, throws another one. And again, same thing. Back-to-back homers. Gets launched out there one more time. And what happens is the boys pick up the ball and they each sort of just panic with it and they pass it off to Henry. And Henry, having this weird twisty arm, just sort of goes, you know what, whatever, let's try this. And he cranks it back. We hear, wait. And then he just launches like a 120-mile-an-hour fastball from center field right all the way down to home plate, burns it in there. And everybody in the stadium, their jaws just drop. No one can believe what the hell just happened.
So this obviously catches the eye of all of the, I guess, the management personnel of the Cubs. That's who these people are in the office, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So Henry's mom arrives home as he's playing, throwing the ball with his friends out in the yard. And she sees that, he's throwing the ball like incredibly fast. So she's kind of concerned. And they go inside. And while they're inside, her boyfriend Jack shows up. And just as he's showing up, the phone rings. And it happens to be one of a representative from the Cubs that's looking for Henry, because they probably want to add him to the team. So he arranges the meeting. And the very next day, when they show up to meet Henry, this guy named
Sal Martinella. He's the manager. Sal Martinella is the manager who shows up to greet young Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins. Yeah, young Henry Rollins before he joined Black
and this
Flag.
This is the story of Black Flag. This is the story.
So Sal is the manager here. And so he's the coach of the team. And he shows up to meet Henry Rowengarter for the first time, okay? And instead of Henry Rowengarter, throughout this entire movie, he will basically say everything that is close to Henry Rowengarter, but not Henry Rowengarter.
Yeah.
And we just need to play you. And I can't stop every time and play a clip because there's so many times this happens. And it's so funny that we just need to play you a quick little montage of a bunch of times Sal is trying to pronounce Henry Rowengarter's name.
Hello, son. I'm looking for Henry Ruhlenfurter. Raffenboozer. Rosenberger. Warm up. Gardenhoser. I never doubted him for a minute. Hey, way to go, Runamucker.
Runamucker.
Yeah, Ruhlenfurter. It's literally the running gag of the entire movie, and it's so well done.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad joke.
It's amazing. Hello, is Henry Ruhlenfurter here?
Henry Ruhlenfurter. Rosenberger.
I don't think he actually corrects anybody either when they say the wrong name. I think sometimes he says, "What did he call me?" He might say that.
He says it at the end or I don't know if we go too deep into what happens, but he says it at the end when he finally they meet this. It's almost like Sal's anxiety about the team goes away, and he's able to actually call Henry as his real name for once when it's down to the final.
That is really meta. I like that, actually. That is incredible depth and insight to this movie. Honestly, I'm really, as we're talking about this more, I'm like, this is a really meaningful movie, apparently, to me. I don't know. I'm finding this is crazy depth in this. This is cool. This is interesting. All right. Yes.
Oh yeah. It's like that. It's just things that kind of transcend from you're a kid and you appreciate certain things. And then when you're older, you appreciate different things, or not even appreciate, just
Appreciate
notice
the same thing for different reasons.
Yeah. And that's what makes this a cool movie.
So Mr. Fish is there and he witnesses the Henry throwing the ball 101 miles per hour. And he tells Jack that he wants to sign this kid, and tells Jack that he's going to be the kid's personal manager. And I feel like that's a weird thing. Wouldn't they ask one of his parents to do that? Or even maybe ask one of his parents if it's okay if they sign him?
or ask a real agent that actually does it for a living.
That's a good point.
They're like, I heard you've been dating this kid's mother for 3 weeks. You want to represent
For 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mary and Henry's mother doesn't even find out until the press conference the next day. It's like, what?
Dude, that's true. Like the contract would pretty much be null and void because he doesn't have legal guardianship over Henry.
Right.
You can't just start signing this kid's name to paper.
That leads us into our next scene, the press conference, where Henry is dressed up and this is a huge media coverage contract signing. And his mother is there, and just like you said, Richard, she seems genuinely confused, like, whoa, I didn't realize any of this was going on. What is his mother doing? Like, where is she in this movie?
I don't know.
She's constantly surprised and bewildered about everything that's happening in this movie.
Yeah, they never say what her job is, but she's gone a lot.
That's a good point. What does her mom do? What does her mom do?
She's only ever around to finish up supper, collect her 3-week anniversary present, and get on the road.
and she never accompanies him. So the next day, we're going into they're rushing to the Cubs game, and they're outside the door. And he's like, "Mom, you got to stay back," and just lets the kid walk into the arena alone. So she just leaves him on the sidewalk before he even gets in, and he's gone. So he's in the locker room, and he's trying to be chummy with the other players because he's a big fan and stuff. And we get introduced to Daniel Stern. He actually has a role in this movie as well as directing it. His name is Brickma, and correct me if I'm wrong. So I mean, I don't even know if I totally understand what this guy does. They mentioned that one of the managers says that he was hired from a little league.
Sal Martinella, who is the manager / coach, same thing on the team, said that he beaned him in the minors. So he was presumably in the minor leagues with this guy Brickma, threw a fastball or something, smashed him in the head, and that is why he sort of is the way he is. Without being too, I don't even know what's up with Brickma, but he's just a wild man.
This guy looks like I might know more about baseball than him. He barely does anything baseball related in this movie.
He looks like he is still in character for Home Alone, but just cut his hair and is under a new alias. He is the Wet Bandit.
He looks like he's in Home Alone, but it's just after Kevin bricked him in the head. That's at least his level of coherency. Before we go any further here, though, this is a scene that I know Richard really loves. The first time Henry Rowengarter gets into the Cubs dressing room here. So we need to just sit here for a second and talk about something that happens, a couple things that happen here. So this is great. I love the names of these baseball players that they give them here.
They're classic. So Henry does this whole, he walks. Well, that classic line, Tim, that you played earlier of a poor 12-year-old prepubescent boy, and how annoying his voice can be. He says hi to everybody. All the players turn. They're all having their conversations. They turn to him. Everyone stops talking and stares. And then they all go back to talking to each other, laughing. And, you can hear people murmuring like, "Hey, where's your mommy, kid?" Like that kind of stuff. Which I found really funny in that scene. Anyways, Henry shrugs all his idols, calling him a little turd off real quickly. And he's walking through. He's like, "Oh my God, Stan Oakley. Oh my God, it's Billy Frick." He's like walking through the dressing room, like awing and oohing at all these players that he's now on their team with. It's so funny.
Oh, so these aren't real players?
Those are not real players yet.
No, Billy Frick is not a real baseball player.
Okay.
Sounds like a name we came up with.
I say, "Oh my God, it's Billy Frick." Every day. I say it every day.
Henry finally gets dressed now, and it is his big debut. Well, sort of. He's going out there, and he's sitting on the bench right now. Chet, the Rocket Stedman, is out there throwing the heat, obviously having troubles with his arms. And there's a ton of people in the stands here, and it looks like they want to see Henry play this game, or at least they've shown up to see like what is this sideshow circus that's going to happen here. This 12-year-old kid allegedly is going to pitch.
Yeah, a significant amount of people have now come out as opposed to at the start of the season. Now with Henry, on the team, like the money's starting to flow in for Mr. Fish.
So the Rockets having a hard time here. Mr. Fish has had enough. He's given him the hook. So he calls down and says, put in the kid. And sure enough, Sal, this amazing guy, yells out, Rosenberger, warm up. You're going in. So here we go. Henry is headed onto the mound, and he is going to pitch in his debut for the Cubs.
The youngest player to ever play the game.
Brickma's throwing signals, apparently, to Henry, trying to, but he's like swatting a mosquito is what it looks like.
What's Mr. Brickma doing? That's a sign, kid. You're in. I do love the shot when Sal gives him the ball. They cut to this like really wide camera and go slow-mo on Sal's voice. Throw the I just love that scene. And then they go, it's like this really dominant camera angle for Sal and this really wide, like belittling camera just to kind of show how young he is and how,
that is a nice little touch that he put in there. And it's like, you can see too, because Henry's just standing there and basically the entire stadium is full. Wrigley Field is sold out. And probably the nastiest dudes that you would want to pitch against in this fictional league is up to bat. So what is it? Okay, so is this guy's name Potato? Is it Tato? Is it
Hito?
It's
like Heato. Hito.
Like a Cheeto without a C.
Yeah, exactly. Hito.
Okay, so like who decides the names of these fake players in this movie? It's just like, why did these writers pick Billy Frick and Hito and like what?
Daniel Stern totally picked these
He
names.
Absolutely did, Tim. I agree.
Like no question. He definitely did. He's foolish. He definitely did that.
Yeah, I guess I just gotta imagine these are probably what you guys were talking about earlier. It's probably like inside jokes to somebody. Maybe this makes sense to someone. I don't know. Like Billy Frick was a name that someone used to give to people when they went to the bar or something back in the day. It was like on their ID or something. I don't know. But yeah, this dude Hito is built sort of like Jose Canseco in the 90s. He's just this big, huge dude. And he has got this little tiny bat that he
eats fastballs for breakfast.
That's right. And he's just like basically pulling splinters off the bat because he's just grinding it up in his hands. He's got like 6 bats going on there. And Henry tries to burn one in and it doesn't matter. This guy just launches it and it is gone. And Henry's confidence, if it already wasn't shot, now it's just like, it's Swayze. It's gone.
Your first pitch of your MLB career is a moonshot by the opposing batter. It's not a good start at all.
No, and you know what? In the second pitch isn't much better because he just beans a dude right in the kneecap. Like, oh. If Henry is throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastball at your shin, that cannot be. It's not good. Henry's looking for the save in this game here, looking for the Cubs to get their first win. There's a man on first right now.
The Cubs finally are in a spot where they can start winning a game, and all he has to do is close it out, and he just can't seem to get it together. Home run in the first AB, he hits the batter in the second. And then the third batter comes up, a wild pitch is thrown, and the catcher throws to the third, gets the guy from second. So that's it. Henry's got it. His first save. All he needed was one out.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Why did they? I mean, I guess they pulled the rocket. I guess halfway through the top of the ninth with 2 outs.
Yeah, it would have been the Rocket would have pitched full 8, and then Henry came in, 9 or 8 2/3, pitched the final out.
No wonder the Rockets' arm is just toasted, man. How it's 165 games in baseball in a season, and this guy's playing like 9 innings a game, and apparently he's starting basically every game because there's no other pitchers that you see.
Cubs are treating him like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, like I hope he made some bank here off this, man. The poor guy. So everyone's kind of celebrating. in the locker room, sort of. I mean, it's like you take a win anywhere you can get it, I guess, when you're losing that bad. But so they're all happy. And Sal kind of goes up to the Rocket and he's like, you got to talk to this kid. You got to take him under your wing. You got to show him how to do it. And while that's going on, of course, we go back to our old scene stealer, Brickma. So there's so many things to talk about with Daniel Stern in this movie. Like, he's such a scene stealer, this guy. He is an amazing character. There's so many hilarious characters in this movie. And there's so many things that he says that we want to play them all, but you can't. So again, we have to play you another little montage of Daniel Stern, aka Phil Brickma, at his peak in this movie.
Let the big dog eat. Key to being a big league pitcher is the 3 R's: readiness, recuperation, and conditioning. Oh boy. Little help. Little help now. Hot ice. That's right, hot ice. I heat up the ice cubes. It's the best of both worlds. Huh? Now. Shut up. I'll see you out there. Clean his nose.
Clean his nose.
Clean his nose.
Wow.
I love that line. Clean his nose. That was just like, he probably was standing there. You got to imagine Daniel Stern standing there at the camera, like probably looking into a camera for 3 minutes, just yelling the weirdest stuff at him. And they were like, that's the one right there. Clean his nose. That's the line. Every time I hear that, I've yelled that out at baseball games. To people like, clean his nose. It's like, I love that. What the hell does that mean, clean his nose?
I know. That's weird. Wipe his ass. Henry is a success, and he is on the road with the Cubs now. And he's going on tour, I guess, to a whole bunch of different ball games. He's doing well. There's a couple shenanigans with Daniel Stern again, where they're staying in a hotel room. And you know those like little divider doors, like would go in, you open it up for one room to another. I guess they're there for fire escapes or something like that. I don't really know. Anyways, he somehow gets stuck in between both doors. So I guess it seems like he's there for like an entire day, just like kind of stuck between the wall.
Just the camera shot that's above him, where you see him between the two doors, and it's just sideways, and you see it, little help now.
Oh boy.
Yes.
It seems almost impossible to actually get into. Like for the position that he was in, you would require someone to push you in there and like shove the door closed.
Yeah, he's like Ernest. You know, it's just the magic happens. It finds him, and I'm so grateful for that shot. I love that part of the movie. It's my favorite scene in this entire movie.
Just to touch on how great of a mom and how present she always is in Henry's life. I guess I'm assuming she's at work and she's like cutting flowers or something. And because she's watching all of Henry's games on TV, because, you know, we really don't know why she can't be with him, but she's watching it on TV and she is getting heated.
Well, she's getting heated because now that the Cubs are playing away games, they're playing in the National League where there's no designated hitters. So the pitchers have to hit as well. So this is Henry's first opportunity where his freak accident isn't going to help him in any way. He now has to go to the plate and bat like a 12-year-old in the major leagues, and it's just not a good scene.
No, wouldn't they screen someone before that? Like, there's like, okay, they're going to hire this 12-year-old kid to come in and pitch. And if they're going to put him on to bat, you think they'd like kind of try that out before you're like on a live
Exactly.
game?
And well, as a relief pitcher, typically you never really get to bat. Like starting pitchers would bat sometimes if they go really deep into a game because they have to go through the rotation, or through the lineup. But Henry typically only pitches, against 3 batters, so he never really has to turn over in an inning to play to actually bat. So it's just a funny situation that Henry's in. He was pitching so well that they needed him to bat, even though he'd never done it before. So anyways, yeah. So he's in. He has to go and he has to bat. He has to take his 4 pitches if he can, and the pitcher for the Dodgers is a real asshole. Like doesn't even care that he's pitching these nasty shredded curves against a 12-year-old.
So what happens is his strike zone is so small and he's standing so far out that he basically just gets walked to first somehow magically, even though those guys throwing like change ups and sliders and whatever else. Apparently just can't get one across the plate. Like, I don't understand the ump. I think the ump would be like, yo, that was dead nuts right down the plate, kid. Like, sorry, that's a strike. But whatever. Regardless, he's on base now. And he is giving it to this pitcher.
Taunting.
Yes, just giving it to this guy. And I love, this is another part of the movie, because they show this in the trailer too, right? The pitcher's got a big butt part where he's just like, it's like the
Pitcher's got a big butt. This entire scene is basically like Henry's rise. There's nothing that can stop him. He can do it all. That's what John Candy says after he, slides home, comes, he can do it all. This kid can do it all. And there's a nice big montage of him literally striking out. This is the best, one of the funniest parts of the movie. This is where they show real MLBers. Like, he's like striking out Bobby Bonilla and Barry Bonds, and this is probably the most expensive.
Griffey is one of them?
Yeah, and Ken Griffey's one of them, yeah. Bobby Bonilla, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey.
Just absolute legends. Just striking them out.
Henry and the Cubs go on this huge, road trip tear, win a bunch of games. Nothing can, beat them, and then they come home, and this is where that funny limousine scene happens.
Yeah. Okay. So while they're on tour, they're going out for a night, I guess. And Henry has a limousine that the team or the management has paid for. And he invited his mother. She just must be present or available on this trip. So she's here with him. And he invites Rocket, Gary Busey, to come along as well. And he proceeds to pour champagne. He gets them both to sit on the same side and proceeds to pour the champagne. And while he's doing it, he actually calls his mom Babe. She's like, "Are you pouring me a drink?" And he's like, "You got that, babe."
Yeah.
And like gives her a wink. And like, what a weird thing to say to your mother. So anyways, his motivation here is to pair him, Chet, and his mother up. And she seems kind of into it. After that, we see Henry playing piano to an old Ray Charles song made for a Pepsi commercial, in which Henry is starring in, thanks to his manager, Jack. And they're just kind of giving him pointers, and they stop him for a second. And they're like, "You're doing all right, but can you try and be more sexy?" And then that scene just ends. But I was like, wow, an adult telling a 12-year-old boy to be more sexy for a pop commercial.
That scene made me the most uncomfortable when I was a kid. I remember it vividly. I was like, I don't like this part of the movie.
But maybe that's good too, because it shows like the greasy side of everything too, right? Where they're like, you have to be sexy, and you're like, dude, I'm like 10. What the hell is wrong with you? There's nothing about me that should be sexualized. What is wrong with you?
You can really see where the movie, everything's going so high, and then this is where it all falls off the cliff. You know what I mean? Like, Henry obviously, hasn't been spending enough time with his real friends because of his commitments with baseball, and they get pissed about that. And, Jack Bradford's going behind Mary and Henry's back, and Mr. Fish is trying to get the most value for his little 12-year-old asset, so he's going to try and sell him to the New York Yankees. Tries to get Jack to get Mary to sign the contract under false pretense. It's like the shadiest it falls off a cliff so quickly that you're just like, oh my gosh, man.
I rapidly started feeling very bad for this kid. Like, I don't want to get off on that too much because we're going to get to it very, very soon. So I'll just save it. But yeah, I feel really bad for this kid at this point.
He went from hero to zero fast.
So one of Jack's underhanded tricks here that he's trying to pull is he wants to remain close with Mary. He tells Mr. Fish that he will sell Henry to the Yankees and make this deal that they'll both profit on if Mr. Fisher will fire Gary Busey, Jet Rocket. So that way, Gary Busey won't be in the picture and Jack can move in on Mary a little bit more. And yeah, that's pretty dirty. But I do, like, there is a part, as dirty as Jack is, I do kind of feel bad for him in one sense, or like, when did they break up? She did clearly, they clearly were dating. And I don't recall seeing any bit of interactions with them where she decided that she wasn't going to be with him anymore. She just up and started hanging out with Gary Busey.
She started slow dancing with Gary.
Yeah, right in front of him.
Yeah, it is kind of true.
So I can understand why he'd be a little bit upset. Mind you, it's only been like, well, I guess at this point, maybe it's been like half a year.
You kind of see, it wasn't really a relationship. They're kind of hanging out. But,
Yeah,
you know,
diamond necklace on the third week.
Yeah, this guy's also, yeah, he's super clingy. He's weird. And he's also really underhanded too. So I don't really have too much sympathy for this guy. You know what I mean? Because when Henry comes back to the house, he's just like, this guy's like just excoriating him for leaving the Pepsi commercial, even though he didn't want to be there. And this guy's telling him to be sexy, right? Like, what's going on here?
He's getting the third degree from Jack Bradford when he's just trying to be a kid. And he's had enough of it.
I'm so sick of hearing about Chet Stedman. And like he just starts ripping on him, and then he starts attacking his dad. He doesn't even know this guy's dad.
Yeah, I really perked up during this scene from this one line right here. So as Jack is excoriating Henry, just out of nowhere, he drops this on Henry.
Don't you walk away from me when I'm talking to you! You show me some respect!
You're not my father.
That's right, I'm not your father! Chet Stedman's not your father. In fact, your mother probably doesn't even know who your father is. Your father's some guy who left town.
That is enough!
Whoa.
You fucked up, Jack Bradford, let me tell you.
Whoa. Holy God. When that happened, I was like, whoa. I even paused it for a second just to take that in. This, as if I didn't feel bad enough for Henry already. Like, wow. What a thing just to throw at him.
Yeah, you're supposed to be dating his mom too, and you basically just kind of called her a skank.
Yeah, and it's just because he didn't want to go to practice.
And then you also rip on this guy's dad too, and like, what, you know? So not too much sympathy, especially because and I love this part too, because the mom, like, they take a really sharp, downhill turn really quickly, but then they're like, we're gonna just try to pull this plane out of a nosedive really quickly, because Mary comes down the stairs. She hears all this ruckus. She hears him bad mouthing. And all of a sudden, she kicks Jack's ass. And she punches him in the face and knocks him down the stairs. And then she throws I think she calls it a purse or something. And she throws it, this leather purse at him. He's got a man purse. This guy drives a Miata. That's a man purse. I don't know what to say about this guy.
She is getting a massive adrenaline rush after this too. She's like, oh my God, that felt so good. Oh, maybe I should have killed him.
I know. Why are you confiding in your 12-year-old about this? Like, holy, you are not a good mother.
So his mom sits down to have the talk with Henry to tell him about what actually happened to his father. And it turns out that when she was a teenager and was pregnant with Henry, his father left. And that's the story. And Henry's like, yeah, Mom, I already know. And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, Grandma told me. And she's like, what? Oh my God, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like thinking, like, woman, you just got exposed for a lie that you've been telling your kid for like the past 12 years. And you're upset that he held the fact that he didn't know, or that he knew that you were lying?
Mary's upset that Henry's more of an adult than she is. That's what she's upset about.
Well, I mean, like, that's a harsh thing to tell your kid when they're 12. Like, hey, your dad didn't want to be a dad. You know what I mean? Like, that's a tough thing. So I can kind of have some sympathy for her.
So yeah, so we're the everything's kind of making sense a little more in the story now. Things Henry seems in a good place, and we're back in Wrigley Field, and Uncle Bob's talking about how they can actually win the division today. And Henry and Mary come into the office and they want to talk to the owner, Uncle Bob, if you will, as Mr. Fish says. And Henry has some information that he wants to tell Uncle Bob about. And he asks, "Why did you want to sell me to the Yankees?" And this comes as a total surprise to Uncle Bob, who was the owner. He said, "We would never sell you to the Yankees. You need to focus on the game, and I need to focus on some internal issues, obviously," as he's looking over at Mr. Fish, who is cowering like a small fucking dog during a thunderstorm.
This guy's he's a little weasel. Him and the Miata driver, they're both weasels in this movie. And at the end of the movie, things don't pan out for them so well. Spoiler alert. But one of the other reasons that Henry is also there is to tell him that at the end of the season, he's calling it quits. He's basically retiring, I guess, as a 12-year-old, potentially 13-year-old kid in the league, playing a cool 40 games or whatever the hell he played.
Leaving on a high note.
Yeah, that's it. Well, maybe it'll be a high note. We'll see how the game goes.
He had a serious, revelation when he was having more fun with his friends and kids his age, that, he needs to focus on this before he focuses on that.
What do you think his entry, like, is he on an entry-level contract in the MLB as a 12-year-old kid? Like, what is he getting paid?
Honestly, it's quite convoluted how service time and in the MLB works. Like, you would make a minimum of about $900K.
Damn.
900,000 for an entry, but they state that they were trying to sell him to the Yankees for $25 million. So that is like, it doesn't that makes no sense. Like, you got to go through at least 3 years of service before you're arbitration eligible, where you even get somebody else to agree on a salary that you are owed. Like, you're at $900K for 3 years minimum in the MLB. So it's like, for him to be, after 40 games, someone wants to offer him $25 million. He's got to be the best baseball player that ever lived, man.
Right? So they're gonna pay $25 million for this guy who insults people, throws little.
He hasn't even pitched 100 innings in his life.
Right? Yeah, and he basically hits people, throws wild pitches, and throws the little chalk bags at them, and does like little baseball tricks. Like, that's his whole repertoire, and that's worth $25 million. To me, it's just
it's all about the money.
I guess so. Just as a kid, though, if I was sitting there, it's like, do I sit in school for like another 6 years or make $25 million? I think I know what I would pick, because you would show up and maybe you do well in the league the next year. Probably not. I'm not spoiling anything, but why not get paid?
Yeah, like, I kind of think like the scene was where he comes in and says, I think I'm going to retire. It was like a nod to, like the scene with him, like, his friendships are now rebounded, which obviously, but also the fact that he said he was going to retire before what happened in the final game where he lost the ability. So it's like, he didn't look like a guy that was like, "Oh, I'm retiring because my ability's gone." He said, "I'm retiring, even though I'm the best, I'm retiring, on my own time." And then it was like a way for them to make him almost a bigger hero. Because, obviously he's going to retire if he can only throw the ball 40 miles an hour.
He's not influenced by the money and of it all. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. There you go. So he's retiring after this year. In the locker room here, it looks like Sal is giving the ball to the Rocket. He says, "You're my man for this game. We need to win this game, and we're going on to the World Series. So you're my horse. I'm going to ride for this one." And Gary Busey tells him, like, "Dude, after this game, like, I'm done. I can't do this. My arm is toast. It's over." Like, maybe he's got a rotator cuff injury. Something's going on there. He's torn a tendon, and I don't know. He's done something bad to this. You know what I mean? So he is basically, he's done. He's going to retire after this. So he agrees, "This is the last game I can give you, and that's it." The game is going. It looks like the Cubs are doing well here, but the Rocket is running out of rocket fuel, so to speak, here, and throws the heat, and you can see, like, he's just wincing in the most excruciating pain. Gary Busey is making a crazy face right now. But what happens is the guy just, not really line drives it, but just a good shot, enough to smash the bat, heads for first. There's a guy on third. He's going to go home now. Gary Busey tries to throw him out at home, but his arm is just done. So what now happens is
Can't even throw the ball.
that's right. It's over. You can tell like he's out. He's done after this. And so he makes a run for home plate, and this guy that's running from third, Gary Busey, are coming in, and they converge, and the Rocket manages to tag him out just before he gets to home plate, saves them, and that's it. The inning's over, and so is the Rocket's career. It's done.
Yeah. The only way to prevent them from tying the game is Rocket is in a foot race to home plate to beat this guy, because he can't throw the ball to home plate because his arm is completely toast. So he's got to beat this guy in a foot race. And the way Gary Busey's running, I've never seen anybody run the way he runs. He's like, it's like the glove weighs 40 pounds. He is just chugging with that thing. Like, and it's like the guy that's on third base. It's like the way that they obviously cast these people. Like Gary Busey's belly sticks out so far at this point. It's like there is no way in hell that this man is beating that dude on third in like it's a 70-yard dash. There's no way.
It looks like he's got a bunch of pillows under his shirt. He is not outrunning this guy. That's for sure. It's toast. And all that guy had to do anyways, just stay on third. And the guy made it to first. It's like, okay, well, just hit another ball.
I know. It wasn't even a forced play. They just needed to tie the game.
But so it looks like Henry is gonna try to take him through the rest of the game here. And I think he's got 3 innings to play here. So it looks like Henry's out there now, and he's on a roll still. He's just 3 up, 3 down. Looks like 2 innings straight, and they're going into the 9th now. And all he's got to do is get 3 more outs, and they're going to the World Series. Henry's pretty pumped right now. He's feeling pretty good about himself, and he goes out to the mound. He's running out there. He's all happy and stuff, and he's looking around the crowd. He's not paying attention. Somehow trips over a baseball on the mound.
The same kind of baseball as in at recess.
Yeah, it's like a magic baseball. It's like in the Hot Tub Time Machine when Chevy Chase shows up just to like give them random hints. This is like just balls just shows up just to basically change Henry's fate for the better or worse in this movie at both ends.
I love how the exact same, like, for some reason he goes through 4 months of a cast and I'm sure lots of physiotherapy. And he runs out and he slips and he lands, doesn't break anything. It just gets rid of the fact that he can throw the pitch real fast. Like,
Yeah, it just undoes everything.
His arm is fine. He's just back to being a normal 12-year-old, just like his superpower just disappears. It's unbelievable.
It's funny to me that he didn't get injured in the same kind of way. Like, so he fell the same way. It only undid his superpower. He didn't endure any of the same injuries that, like, completely crippled his arm and put him in a cast for 4 months.
Right. In real life, the movie ends right now.
Yeah.
That's right. They like get a stretcher and they're like, oh no, Rowan Gardner's gunned down. And he's just like, oh, Cubs lose.
At this point is where you see Daniel Stern's name. Yeah, roll with the credits. This is the end of the movie, but it's Disney, baby.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can't believe that. I'm in my 30s. I've watched this movie 1,000 times. Never thought about why he never ended up in a cast. Just I always accepted that it just like loosened the arm up. It's like he had this ultimate Charlie horse or something. It was just stuck. And then it just like knocked it loose for him. It was like just a good Swedish massage punch.
I love how panicked he is when he realizes that he sucks. He's just a kid now. Like, he is stressed, man.
What would you do, right? Like, I would be crapping my little Superman undies at that point too, I think.
Just such a genius way that they approach it too. Like, he needs 3 outs. That's what he needs. And he no longer can pitch the ball.
As a non-baseball fan watching this happen, this was kind of fascinating. These little tricks that he pulled. Like, so he gets all of the players together, basically tells them that his power is gone now. And they're all in a huddle out in the basically the middle of the baseball field diamond. And then they decide, or I guess they come up with a plan. We don't know what the plan is yet. They all kind of go back to their positions. And I'll try and explain this as best as I can, because this is really confusing as far as what happens for me. So he walks back, and one of the other baseball players has the baseball hidden behind their back. like maybe on like second or third base, and
On first.
on first. Okay, and Henry is acting as though he's walking back to the pitcher's mound, and he is acting as though he has the baseball, but in actuality, he has a sandbag,
A rosin bag, yeah. Which they
Rosenberger.
yeah, exactly.
a rosin bag in his hand. Yeah. So once everyone realizes that he doesn't actually have the baseball in his hand, the other player on the team actually has the baseball, and he proceeds to trick the other guys and just kind of walks over and touches the other player, and he's out. I said that right, correct?
Yeah, I don't think that's a legal play. I'm pretty sure he called timeout. I don't think you can just give the ball to someone and walk over and tag them out.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, aren't there rules to that? Like, you can't just call a timeout for the sole purpose of tricking the other team, like utilizing your timeout as a play. Like, that sounds completely illegal, wouldn't it be?
Yes, well, like you can like do a mound visit where like your team comes together to discuss a defensive play on the mound. Like you get like a certain amount of time to do it. But in all honesty, the hidden ball trick became a thing in the MLB after this movie. I swear. Like Todd Helton did it in like 2010. He literally they met at the mound. He took the ball, he got the ball after a play, pretended to throw it back to the pitcher, kept it in his glove, waited for the guy in first to take his foot off, and tagged him as soon as he did it, and the player was out. It's happened in real games post Rookie of the Year, and
Wow.
it's certainly influenced by it.
That's incredible. That's like someone doing the flying V in hockey and it actually working. You'd be like, what? This doesn't. There you go. So 1 out. So there is also a man on second, I think it looks like. And what's happened is basically Henry coaxes him into a game of chicken. And he drops the ball and he's like, I dare you to run. I dare you to run, you chump. And he's just scared him because the guy's like, they're going to do the fake ball trick. And he's like, the guy's like, I don't have a ball. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, do it. And then, so basically, after a bunch of just trash talking each other, the guy goes, all right, you know what, kid? Throw that ball as high as you can in the air. I dare you. And so Henry's like, are you really going to run if I do it? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So Henry stands there, just gets that polk high football stretch on, and he just launches. Well, he pretends to launch the ball into the air, basically holds it in his hand. This guy takes off, and Henry runs after him and tags him out. 2 down, 1 to go. Realistically, if this guy, like, I would murder. If I was the Mets manager, I would murder that guy. I'd be like, this 12-year-old kid just punked you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the playoffs, man. You're not messing around with a game of chicken for second base, like.
But it doesn't matter because it's all down to this. It's that guy Hito or Cheeto or Keto.
Hito.
The big Jose Canseco MFer. He's up now.
The guy who hit the original home run off Henry in his debut game is now his final out of his career. His career is over. He knows that. His arm's shot. It's over. This is he has to figure out a way to get one more out to give the Cubs a chance to win it all.
Here's where the mother comes back into play again for like yet another out of left field twist. So Henry is pondering what to do. He's like kind of at a loss right now. He's all out of tricks. So he's just kind of like looking at his glove and playing with it, and tears off a portion of the glove on the inside and reveals that there is a name written on there, and the name is Mary. That was his mother's glove. This baseball glove that he's had this entire movie, and presumably, I guess, his whole life, that he thought was his father's glove, who played baseball, was actually his mother. So there's another lie. And the weird things about these lies that come from his mother is that every time she tells one lie, it makes every other lie that she's previously told even more deep-rooted in like just ignorance.
She's living a double life basically at this point. Like,
so she had every opportunity in his life to tell him that he his father left when they were young, as if that's like something to be mortally ashamed about. I could see if his father, like maybe there was a very tragic death or something like that. Maybe you don't want to talk about it until he's older or something like that. But it's just someone that didn't want to be in his life, so he left. And she convinced her son that this person was, in fact, like involved with his life, and really liked baseball and would love it if he played baseball, when she could have been that role model the entire time, his entire life so far. So she chose to give him a fake role model when she could have just been that for him.
Why was Jack Bradford the manager if she has all this baseball experience and like could have easily just like what the fuck?
That's a very good question.
She acted so like she's just like, I don't know anything about this. It's like you're so committed to the lie that you're gonna ruin everybody's life.
Well,
yeah, she's like a closet baseball fan. What is the point of that? When everyone around you, when baseball is surrounded, you're surrounded by baseball stuff. Like your kid is in the major league and you're going to pretend like you don't like baseball at all while he's out there with your glove.
Yeah.
So Henry, once again, finding this out, is not fazed in any way. In fact, he's inspired to throw the floating toss thing that Scuffy McGee did way back in the day.
Yeah, that was synonymous with his mother and her pitching career. Because she was the pitcher. That's why he was no good at right field either. That's why he threw the ball over the fence. He's not an outfielder. He's a pitcher, just like his mother.
Yeah, and she suggested that to him earlier, too. And she keeps on throwing him things all around, like in the movie.
And he drops them all.
Yeah, no wonder she was punishing him.
You suck at baseball, loser. Do some laundry.
So this floating throw is a major success. And he is ended with on a high note. The Cubs are going to the World Series.
He's able to strike out Keto with the floating pitch. Somehow, incredibly. That guy lost his job after that game for sure. Keto is no longer in the Mets organization. So, yeah, Henry's able to get the final 3 outs, and they're going to the World Series. And he's now playing in, doing the normal kid things that he's supposed to do. And it looks like he's winning a championship in a minor league tournament. And they're all cheering, and he's the hero of the team. And he puts his hand up to the sky to show his fist pump, and he's got a World Series ring.
But he didn't play in the World Series, right? He quit.
Yeah, they won, so he was a part of it, so he gets a ring too.
Fair enough. They wouldn't have got there without him. It's amazing that they sucked so bad before he came, and then when he left, they went on to win the World Series after he left.
It's really surprising that they didn't end the movie at the World Series. It's like they only had rights to the New York Mets and the Cubs, who are both in the same division. So they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we just have to end it here because like the World Series is the American League versus the best National League, right? So it's like,
I would be willing to bet that that was probably the last straw as far as taking teams down, like insulting like the league and like the players. I bet they're probably okay with it because the way you explained it actually does make sense. It was probably a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke to the Cubs fans. However, I bet getting another team and players to do that bad in a World Series game may not be as like teams may not be as comfortable being a film doing that, like losing that bad, right?
Like it would take an enormous amount of money to even to have those logos. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's a big deal to do that, and then to make them look like absolute buffoons. Like the final 3 outs of the divisional series, like you're just absolute Bernards. Like what are you doing?
Yeah, but that's Rookie of the Year, and this is a great movie. This is a really fun movie. I love this movie. It'll never get old. It's so quotable. It just stuck in my head forever. And it's a feel-good movie too. Like this is a great movie. So Tim, let's ask you quickly here, since this is your first time watching this movie. What were your overall thoughts on Rookie of the Year?
I think that this was a pretty fun movie to watch overall. Like, considering like some of the other movies that we've done, this was definitely an easy watch. And I wasn't upset watching it. Like, it was okay to watch, and I got through it. I enjoyed it. It was foolish. Gary Busey wasn't crazy enough. So that was a disappointment. However, it was also kind of fascinating watching him act normal for an hour and a half. So that was kind of cool. Everything about his family is completely disappointing. I don't know why they wrote that so dark and so horrible. So just weird things like that just really stick out to me, because I think overall this movie probably would have looked a lot better had he had just nice parents with, with some shady management people trying to take advantage of him. Like, you could have retold the same story without it being so, like, having such a negligent mother and stuff. But anyways, like, there are so many things that stand out to me that I really enjoyed watching it. Like, I'm completely entertained by it.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, Richard, in my opinion, is probably the same. But Richard, like, tell me again, what your final thoughts on this movie here?
Oh, it's just a classic. There's so many layers to this film. I I love its quotability is unbelievable. I've been quoting it since I was 12 years old myself. So just to watch it again, I love it. Like, the cast is incredible. It's like I said, it's Daniel Stern called in his favors, and this is the film that they made with those favors. In all honesty, I swear. But it's just so quotable. I'm impressed by, whenever you can get real incorporated, like, trademarks, like real team names. There's it goes that extra mile, like, Mighty Ducks,
Love Guru.
that kind of stuff. Like, when you can get the real trademark stuff, it's fun. But yeah, this movie's amazing. I love this movie so much.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I will never stop loving this movie. This is such a fun movie. It's one of those things that I put away for like a couple years, and I'm like, oh man, Brickma, like, I gotta, like, Rowan Garter, we gotta go back to this. And then you revisit it, and it's just like, bam. I love this movie and all the quotes. It's like Happy Gilmore, where it's this recessed depository of my brain where for anything important that I'm trying to remember, it's never there. But these stupid quotes about Robbie Boozer and like cleaning his nose, those are the things that just always come back in. There's the characters in this movie. Every scene, there's always something funny going on. This is a can't miss movie. I know this is good times and bad movies. I know it's not a bad movie, but like, there is some ridiculous stuff to this, enough that I think it's worth meriting us doing this. Yeah, this is amazing. I love this movie, and I think if you haven't seen this movie, give it a shot, because there's so much stuff that we can't cover in one episode. It would be like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, we had to gloss over a lot here.
It's a sports movie that you don't have to be into sports or in baseball at all to appreciate its humor and the way it's made.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. If it's just like, you don't have to go too in depth with it. If you are a baseball fan, though, there's all kinds of stuff you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Full count, strike one. This doesn't make sense. No, what?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's such a fun movie, and this is totally worth every second of it. So I think that's where we'll leave it for now. Richard, thank you for coming on the show. You were our first guest ever on this show. So popping cherries left, right, and center here. This was fun.
Yes, I'm so pumped. Thank you guys for having me. This is sick.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'll have you back again for sure at some point. Well, we're gonna have to talk about maybe The Room or something. I don't know. Oh, hi, Mark. Okay, Denny.
Anything.
Yes.
This is awesome. I'd love to come back.
Yeah, this was fun. Real quick before we go, though, just let you know, you can find us on our social medias. On Instagram, it's at Good Times Bad Movies Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, where we have a channel. We post the videos for the episodes. We post clips. We're also on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Give us a like. Give us a download. Let us know what you think of this movie, because we want to hear from you. And I think that's it for now. Tim, you got anything else you want to say?
No, I got nothing to say. I literally have nothing to say.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Well, thank you for coming, Richard.
Yeah, well, I'll just say that. Thanks for coming on, Richard.
Yeah, this was fun. And I guess we'll just leave it here. And we'll leave you with a little bit of advice from our friend, Phil Brigma.